was always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags, your number one podcast for all things Jacksonville, all things Jaguars, all things Duval. Now that is more like it. That's what I'm talking about. Jaguars just came off a 35-6 shellacking, dog-walking, absolute beatdown of the Los Angeles Chargers. None of us expected us to have a game like that in the season. But that is how you rebound from one of the worst losses we've ever had. That is how you change a culture. That is how you say these are not the same old Jags. That is how you reverse what Jags fans are used to. All those people in my comment section, I can post some right here, saying the Jaguars are going to get smoked. Chargers going to destroy them. Jaguars got no shot. Jaguars a poverty franchise. 35-6. 35-6. 35-6. Now, and you know, the excuses will come heavily, right? Oh, the Chargers were down their offensive tackles, right? You tell me the last time your team, whoever your team is, if you're a Jaguars fan listening to this or you're not, when was the last time your team dropped 29 points while your team was down its top 3 receivers, its top 2 tight ends, its top 3 players in the secondary, and 2 players along its offensive line? You tell me. You tell me, when did the Bengals last win a game without Jamar Chase and T. Higgins playing? When was the last time? I don't even know what team to put up. The Buccaneers have been playing great this year. So tell me the last time. Tell me the last time. The Jaguars proved something today. We are not the pushovers of before. We are not dwelling in the AFC cellar. And anybody that's making dumb excuses for this loss, Chargers tackles being out, Chargers had like 3 people injured. We had 10, 11 guys out. Like, coming into the season fully healthy, I did not expect us to win this game. With us being fully healthy. And obviously the Chargers, you could argue the Chargers' injuries are more impactful to them because their offensive line is horrible without those guys. But it's not my fault they didn't sign Cole Van Lanten, because Anton Harrison went out and Cole Van Lanten handled the Chargers' best edge rusher in Khalil Mack. And he had a great game. So don't come at me with their offensive tackles are out. So was ours. And he handled your best edge rusher. Khalil Mack had nothing on Trevor. And so this game, everything got back to form. And I think, like, this was the kind of game, especially rushing with 192 yards. If you had told me that Brenton Strange was back, I wouldn't have been surprised that we had 192 rushing. Because to me, Brenton Strange is, again, he's the T that makes this offense go. Our offense has, it's weird. It's weird, actually. Like, if we back up a second, like, Brenton Strange feels like the engine to our offense because of his blocking and catching prowess, right? So defenses can't cue into what we're doing, and he's Trevor Lawrence's best friend. He's also Travis Etienne's and Bayshaw Tutin's best friend. But also, like, since Brenton Strange has been out, we've been losing games. But also in our last 3 games, we've put up more than 30 points, or just about 30 points. 30, 29, and 25. And 35. Now, against the Chiefs, we had 31. But even in the games where Brenton Strange was playing, against the Panthers, 49ers, we only put up 26 because that's all that was needed. But those games still came down to the wire. It wasn't just like a complete walk-off, put your backup quarterback in at the 11-minute mark. So the question is like, and this is what I think I love about Liam Cohen. And I think is different about Doug Peterson because even in the seat, like when Liam came to Jacksonville, he figured out how important Brenton Strange would be. And even with Brenton Strange not in the lineup, he found a way to get the running game going again. And that was the thing that Doug Peterson couldn't do. He couldn't adjust when things weren't going his way. And Liam Cohen found a way to adjust and get back to that. And now Brenton Strange is going to come back for our game against the Cardinals, meaning our run game and passing game is only going to get better because he does make that big of a difference. He does, because again, in a running game, all it takes is one guy to beat their guy and the play is blown up. That's how running plays work. But Brenton Strange does not get beat. Guys don't get off blocks when he's blocking them. And he's got the speed and the power. So again, kind of hyping him up in a game that he didn't even play. Again, to be down our top receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., our other top receiver, Travis Hunter, is out. I think Diami Brown played. And then cornerback, Jordan Lewis still wasn't there. Neither was Travis Hunter. And Eric Murray's still not back in the secondary. And to me, what tells me when our defense really got back on track, Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is the engine for that defense. It used to be Foye Oluokun. And I really like Foye, but eventually we're going to have to choose. And I think if it comes down to it, like James Gladstone has to re-sign Devin Lloyd right now. We saw what it was like 2 games with him not playing against the Rams and against the Seahawks, right? And against the Rams, I'm pretty sure Eric Murray and Jordan Lewis were still in the game. 35-7, right? Now, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have gotten blown out without Devin Lloyd playing in that game, but clearly he has a bigger impact on the defense than we were anticipating. And I think he has a bigger impact on the defense than even Foye or Eric Murray or someone like that. So James Gladstone, like that's his next. He's got to get Devin Lloyd re-signed. Devin Lloyd didn't even have a big play in this game. It's just him being on the field and what he can do in coverage and everything we've been waiting for him to put together. Now, again, the fact that he's doing it in a contract year is kind of like maybe it just took longer to figure out. I don't know, but we got to re-sign him. That's no question there. And as we get closer to the end, re-signing guys and stuff like that, we're actually going to have a lot of impactful free agents leaving this year. With the main ones will be Travis Etienne, Trayvon Walker, and Devin Lloyd. Guys from the 21-22 draft class, all of our first round picks who are finally kind of coming into their own. And you look at this Chargers game, and I think this is Trayvon Walker also being removed from that club because the Jaguars haven't had a lot of sacks, but we've had a lot of pressures and forcing quarterbacks into bad decisions. And Trayvon Walker went out during that Chiefs game, and he wasn't really the same. And now he's back. And I feel like him being, again, it was the Chargers offensive line, so we can't put too much stock into it. I would love to see us play the Texans again against their offensive line and see what really was the difference. But I think Trayvon Walker, he's starting to get back to his form. And when he's on, it frees up Josh Allen. And because Josh Allen, he's a great edge rusher, but he's not a one-man band. Like Myles Garrett is a one-man band. You don't need anyone across from him, and he's still going to get his. TJ Watt is a one-man band. Max Crosby is a one-man band. Josh Allen is a thunder and lightning. You gotta have a compliment to him. And whether that's going to be Trayvon Walker for the future, we don't really, it's still kind of up in the air. We're not sure. I think we picked up his 5th-year option. But I can't remember because we drafted him in 22. So that would be an interesting question. If we picked up his 5th-year option, then I would maybe franchise tag Devin Lloyd. And every time when I was watching this game, Bashal Tutin, some crazy plays in that game. Even on the touchdown run, 2 Chargers there. Now, Bashal Tutin has a lot of momentum coming, so it's kind of natural that he would run them over and get the touchdown. But even still, he knocked 2 guys over on his way to the touchdown. 2 guys that should have really been able to stop him right there on the 1-yard line. He just ran them right over. He's starting to come back alive because he was starting to make some plays and then he kind of cooled off in those blow-offs when we had to get away from the run. But now, he's back in it and he's steady making plays again. And he brings that explosiveness and the hammer at the same time. But every time I think that maybe Travis Etienne is a little expendable now, Travis Etienne will have a 2-touchdown game like he did in this game. Like every time, and I feel like they're pushing each other because Bashal Tutin wants that running back one spot. But Travis Etienne is not ready to give it up. And every time you see Bashal Tutin make a good play, it's like Travis Etienne is like, okay, I'm going to one-up that. And then he does. And it's like a perfect – I'm like, I don't know how – I'm not ready to let Travis Etienne go. I'm not ready to say that Bashal Tutin should take over the backfield because to me, they're consistently pushing each other to do more and do better because they know that they're kind of gunning for each other's spots. But all of that to say, we've got some tough decisions to make in the offseason. Let's get back to this game, and let's talk about, obviously, the man of the hour is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had a good day. He had a good half. It's every quarterback is going to miss some throws in a game, right? The problem is, like when Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, even Justin Herbert, you can even tell the difference on Justin Herbert's when he threw his one interception, because Justin Herbert and Trevor both had one interception. The perception, when you already have a history of making bad decisions and bad throws, that makes every single bad throw look worse because people are going to be like, oh, are you going back to your old form? Like Sam Darnold playing against the Rams. Sam Darnold's had a fantastic year. Just to throw 4 picks against the Rams. And because that was his history, more bad plays than good, people are wondering if he's reverting back to form. Anytime Daniel Jones throws an interception, his old play is going to come up. Doesn't matter how well he's playing. Even like he could be playing better than most of the QBs in the league. And again, you just look like you could tell just by the commentators' comments, by the commentators on Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, right? And Trevor Lawrence throws that interception. That ball was thrown behind Tim Patrick. Like the ball came in here, allowing Dante Jackson to get it. The ball should have been thrown here, especially because Tim Patrick is such a big body, big target. He should have been able to catch it right here. And Trevor Lawrence couldn't get it to him there. So, and that was the commentary on it was, this is the kind of throw that we're talking about. This is the kind of things that we're talking about that makes people question Trevor Lawrence and whether he can really be a guy, if he can really be that kind of guy. And it ended up being a pick, and it almost was like it could have been a huge momentum swing for the Chargers, except our defense just said no. It just denied them. They didn't get anything after that. I don't even know if they got a field goal. Maybe they got a field goal. But our defense was just locked down today, so it didn't matter. But the rest of the game, Trevor was on point. He had some really nice tight window throws. The kind of tight window throws that, like, someone was pointing out, like, because people were talking about how Gardner Minshew didn't have that strong of an arm, like, years and years ago. And I was always confused because I was like, Gardner Minshew he throws deep balls. Like, he can throw the ball 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. But that arm strength also comes in on tight window throws. And on tight window throws, how fast can you zip that ball in there? And that was one thing Gardner Minshew didn't quite have the arm strength to really zip a ball into a window. And that's what Trevor was doing. And they talked about it before the game. They mentioned that Trevor, when Liam Cohen is telling him to let it rip, Trevor was saying, a lot of times Liam has a very specific playbook, and he's been hesitant because when things happen and they don't look exactly how the playbook looks, he can be hesitant with his throws. But he's like, that's something I'm trying to get over. It doesn't have to look perfect. If I see it, take it. And I feel like that's what he did. He saw it and he took it. Whether it was, we didn't take a lot of deep shots. I think we took 1 or 2. And it would have been nice to hit those, but it's still okay. When he saw it, he took it. Converted a lot of pivotal third downs that allowed the run game to keep going. And that complementary football, our defense kept their offense off the field, and our offense kept their defense on the field. And I feel like that was the recipe for success. Like if Trevor Lawrence had been hitting 75-yard bombs all day, that would have maybe looked better and maybe felt better. Maybe he would have had a more gaudy passing day. But that wasn't the recipe for victory, right? Because let's say our defense forces a 3 and out. Trevor Lawrence gets on the field. Obviously, you want to hit big plays, to energize your guys. But if let's say Trevor hit, a 75-yard touchdown pass, even a big play to Quinton Morris, okay, our defense has been on the field has been resting for 3 plays. That's it. By leading these long, methodical, clock killing, third down converting, trusting your guys with their hands, and throwing the ball in the middle of the field, which is something we hadn't really seen. That's something that we were kind of missing before this game. And Liam Cohen, I think with Jakobi Meyers, and again, maybe with Jakobi Meyers not being, and again, I don't know if Brian Thomas Jr. is afraid to go over the middle. That narrative is kind of uncertain or whatever. But if Jakobi Meyers can do the work over the middle, Parker Washington is obviously willing to do the work over the middle too. But with Jakobi Meyers with those sure hands, if he can do it over the middle, maybe that'll help open Brian Thomas Jr. back up and let him streak down the field for those sideline shots. And again, treat him kind of like a wide receiver one, but not a wide receiver one that does it all. A wide receiver one with a specific role to stretch the field, run down the sideline, take a cut, and get open. Right. And so you won't get touched because you're going to catch the touchdown. So I definitely think Jakobi Meyers deserves to be re-signed, especially over De'Ami Brown. And I definitely think James Gladstone is going to do that. I don't think that's something Jags fans really have to wonder about. I think that's partly why Jakobi Meyers wanted to come here. And I think he didn't come here with the expectation that I'm going to get an extension. He came here with the expectation that I'm going to earn an extension. And I love that. And I think that's and I think like that, again, Christian Kirk really helped Trevor out in the middle of the field. And I think that opened things up for Brian Thomas Jr. So maybe we'll see some remnants of that explosive offense. And oh, by the way, next year, Travis Hunter is coming back. So, and again, it was a solid day for Trevor Lawrence. But again, when we go back and compare those interceptions between him and Justin Herbert just overthrew, I don't know if it was Ladd McConkey, but he was wide open. Justin Herbert just overthrew him. Antonio Johnson got it. And that was the death. That was the dagger, right? That end of the game for the Chargers. Because if Justin Herbert puts the ball in the right spot, that's potentially a big play. And it's the kind of play that can rejuvenize your team. And I think because Justin Herbert was under duress all day, and he had time in the pocket. There was no one in his face. He had time in the pocket. Either maybe he wasn't used to the time or he was off. Either way, he was off on that throw. And the commentary, though, was, yeah, rough day at the office for Justin Herbert. His offensive line really isn't protecting him. On a play where he had nothing but time, they were still blaming his offensive line. Now, his offensive line is terrible, and probably why he made such a bad pass, because he was jittery in the pocket. But again, Trevor Lawrence doesn't get those kind of excuses. We don't get to say, like, oh, Trevor Lawrence was jittery in the pocket because his offensive line has given up 20 sacks over the last 3 games because, well, Trevor Lawrence is number one, supposed to be the prince that was promised, the generational quarterback, all these expectations and hype on him. Justin Herbert never had any of that. He was just the number 6 overall pick. Not to mention, the contract that Trevor Lawrence got. But again, if I'm Trevor Lawrence's agent, and again, I do feel like the contract was too early and too much. But I know exactly how Trevor Lawrence got it, because the agent says Trevor Lawrence, every time he plays Justin Herbert, he outplays him. And he's done that 3 times now. And so if I was an agent, I would you look at this game and you say, this is why Trevor should be getting paid more than Justin Herbert. And that's how they ended up at somehow Joe Burrow numbers. But I say all that to say, like I said, it was a great day from Trevor. The question is, though, I'm not sold yet, right? Like, I want Trevor to be the guy. With all my heart, I want him to be the guy. Same way I wanted Blake Bortles to be the guy, especially someone who went to a Florida college. But Trevor's got to prove it. And I don't think he's proven it yet. This was a nice step in the right direction against the Chargers team. I mean, it was against a playoff team. It's almost kind of like, what more do you want from Trevor besides blowing out a playoff team? But again, losing a 29-point lead to a backup is that's a pretty damning mark. The number one thing I will say is NFL games parity is a huge, huge thing in the NFL this year. Feels like almost any team can win any game Nobody is really getting just like dominating performances. Games are coming down to the wire. And secondly, do not underestimate the power of the home crowd, of being at home. The more that players get involved in their communities, the more that players meet people in their communities and feel like they're a part of a community, you can't underestimate the power of a home team. Like, if that game, that Texans Jaguars game, was in Jacksonville, I don't think the Texans would have been able to come back at all. Now, it was a little weird last year. The Texans beat us at home and we beat, or 2023, Texans beat us at home and then we beat them in their stadium. That was a little weird. But in this game, again, we beat them when we were at home because when the momentum shifted back to our side, having that home team rally behind you makes a difference. In NRG Stadium, the home team rallying behind Davis Mills made a difference. And again, look at how the Texans won the game. They were able to move down the field quickly, but it was methodical drives, got our offense off the field really quick in 3 and outs, and their offense picked up first downs, all the way to the end zone. We took their playbook and used it to dog walk the Bolts because 3 and out forced by the defense, and then methodical first down, second down, third down. It's like the best way I can describe it, we weren't afraid to be in third down. We weren't even afraid to be in third and long. We converted so many 3rd and 6s. And I feel like it was okay to pick up, let's pick up, 3 here. We picked up 4 here in a short pass, and we now have the first down. And it was that kind of drive that just kills a defense because defenses get tired a lot more quicker than offenses do. A lot more quicker. They're just built differently, especially when it comes to pass rush, because pass rush are using a lot more energy to go after the guy than you are protecting him. And offenses are built to be running the ball. And so that's everything I can really say on Trevor Lawrence. It was great. We need to see more, right? So go to the Cardinals and beat them in their home stadium. Don't let up. Don't get complacent. Don't this was a good win to rebound, and now it's time to show some consistency, right? This is a rebound. Now let's get the consistency. Let's go beat the Cardinals, beat the team we're supposed to beat. Go beat the Titans in their stadium in Nashville at a game that I will actually be at because the tickets are only like $11, so I'm just gonna drive up there and like sleep in my car for the weekend. That will be fun. Go beat the Titans. And then when you come back and you face the Colts, we should come back. We should be facing the Colts at 8-4. That should be the expectation, because especially if the Colts lose to the Chiefs, they'll be 9-3 when the Colts come to Everbank, and we'll be 8-4. And if we win, that would put us atop the division at least for a week at 9-4, because it would drop the Colts to 9-4. That's what you want. And I hate to say that should be the expectation, because when it comes to expectations, the Jaguars just haven't really met them. Like, we're able to beat the teams. As soon as expectations enter the picture, it's hard to win. Like, even our first game of the season, people were split on Panthers-Jaguars. But then we won. Okay, great. Bengals game, Jake Browning goes out. Now it switches to you're expected to win. And we lost. Then 49ers game. Nobody picked us to win that game. But we went in and won. Chiefs game. No one expected us to win against the Chiefs. But then we beat them. Suddenly we're 4-1. Even the Texans game, when the Texans came to our stadium, the Texans were reeling a little bit, so some people were picking the Jags, but history was showing that the Texans should have won. We beat them. 4-1, entering the Seahawks game. Now there's some expectations. People didn't really know who the Seahawks were yet. The Seahawks were winning some games, but they hadn't really, separated themselves. And it was kind of like, hey, are you going to go win this game? No, Trevor Lawrence gets overwhelmed. The expectations was for us to win that game, and then we kind of faltered. Rams, we were expected to bounce back. We lost. Now, Seahawks and Rams are both Super Bowl contenders, as far as I'm concerned. Even that game where Sam Darnold threw 4 picks, Rams still only won by 2 points because the Seahawks are that good. They were 2 points away from winning on a day where their quarterback had 4 turnovers. That's crazy. So that's a testament to the Seahawks defense and to how good the Rams are at forcing those turnovers. So you have 2 losses to Super Bowl contenders, right? And then you have 2 games that you should have won. And we're really a penalty away from winning kind of both of those games. Because if Travis Hunter doesn't get called for a pass interference on that 4th down throw, because that was not pass interference, we win. The game is over. Trevor takes a knee. The game is over. The Bengals don't win. And if Chuma Edoga gets his hands out of the guy's face and doesn't put his hands in the guy's face, Trevor converts a 12-yard catch that puts us in Cam Little's kicking range. It's not necessarily a guarantee, but after the Raiders, he's been money. So, it's so funny. The losses can look so bad, and it's kind of like, what do we do well? And then we get to the wins, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of things that we do well. We just need our players on the field. It's just that simple. We need to be healthy because we can block, we can get pressure, and we can cover. And so we just need to get healthy and keep going. And so, especially with Brenton Strange coming back, and we also need to be able to live up to expectations. That's the biggest thing. Liam Cohen made a good point. This team plays best when they are pissed off, and they get pissed off when people count them out. But when people are counting them in, you're no longer pissed off. That's just how, and that's, as a Jags fan, yeah, I think that's kind of the best way to describe it. We get pissed off when we're counted out, when you count us out and say it's not possible. But then when you count us in, where's all that rage? Like, oh, okay, yeah, the Jaguars are good. Oh, right, I'm supposed to be pissed off right now. So we got to find a way to channel that rage. And that's something that, as the coach, Liam Cohen has to look at and figure out a way to do it. Maybe he's got to convince the NFL media to bribe the Cardinals. It's weird. Like, this season is weird. It's like we complain. I complain so much about how the media is not giving us enough love and that people continue to just dog on the Jaguars. But all of that dogging on the Jaguars is what leads to performances like what we had over the Chargers and over the Chiefs and over the 49ers. Games that before the season we had no business winning. Before the season, we had no business winning any of those games. I picked those all to be losses. Still thought we were going 10-7, and I didn't know what the Seahawks were, so I thought we could beat them. But I still had us going 10-7. We had no business winning those games. And we did. And I still picked us to lose to the Texans in this, but like we just ended up being so much better than we all expected. So I guess the best thing for the Jags is for the media to keep dogging on them. Keep doubting Trevor Lawrence, keep questioning him, question James Gladstone, question Liam Cohen, Cardinals media. Yeah, say whatever you want to say about us. Give yourselves the win. Say that you're going to do it. And that's because that's the best recipe for success this year. Aside from the Raiders game and the Panthers game, I mean, all of our wins have come from being pissed off and beating teams that we weren't supposed to beat. And again, like, as hard as last week was, I had us at 4-6 at this point in the season. And then making a late season push as our schedule eases up. We're at 6-4. It's a huge difference. Massive difference. So, yeah, we got to take this win. Keys to beat the Cardinals. One answer, Brenton Strange. We got to do the same thing to their defense that they did to us. I don't know how they are against the run. The same thing to their defense that we did to the Chargers. I don't know exactly how they are against the run, but Walter Noel is starting to make a push. Calais Campbell is still showing up in his 18th season, I think. It's crazy. That was a guy that I really wanted us to trade for, and I definitely think that we should have. And Josh Sweat is showing this stuff. They got Jacoby Brissett playing quarterback, and he did just set the record for the most completions in a game. Now, it wasn't garbage time after the 49ers got their own dog walking of the Cardinals, but it was in he could complete passes. He can complete passes. And that's something against the O-line, I think, for the Cardinals is all right. They've got some guys on there. But Paris Johnson is a rookie I think he's starting to come on a little bit more, or was a rookie last year, second-year player. And the Jaguars really we got to be able to hold up in coverage because Jacoby Brissett knows how to complete passes, obviously. And so the best way to do that is to harass him, right? And, I know the Jaguars like to play a lot of press, like to play a lot of zone, but maybe switch in some press, or at least be able to pass off the zones as well as we did in this game. Because in this one, every time a zone looked like it was opening up, it was passed off so well that Justin Herbert had a read, then it was taken away, then there was pressure in his face. By the time he got to his second read, usually there was a guy in his face. And so that is being able to identify like who the first read is going to be and being able to pass off that coverage so he's not open. That's what we're going to have to do against the Cardinals. Marvin Harrison is playing way better with Jacoby Brissett at the helms. They got an interesting Kyler Murray debate. What are they going to do with him? How is that all going to play out? But that's not our problem. Will Johnson is standing out as a rookie corner, and he was the guy that I wanted. I didn't think it was a chance for us to get Travis Hunter, so I wanted to get him. But again, I always said if we make the playoffs this year, the Travis Hunter trade is a success. Even with him going on injured reserve and being out for the whole year, if we make the playoffs, the Travis Hunter trade is still a success with him going on injured reserve and being out for the year. Because it's like, imagine how good we'll be when he comes back. And being able to shellac the Chargers like this, after we get that news is incredible. So we have to keep it going against the Cardinals again. The Chargers game was a must-win to kind of keep those playoff hopes alive, one that we kind of thought would come down to the wire. But we can't let that high get us down. We can't let that high let us come in unprepared. We came in prepared to play this Chargers team, and we came in pissed off. There's a 60% chance that the Jaguars make the playoffs. People still don't have us making it as the 6th or 7th seed, even after this win. Let that piss you off. Let that make you mad. And if you want to see how pissed off they were, just watch Travis Etienne's last touchdown run. And watch the way Robert Hainsey, and I don't know if that was Cole Van Lannon or a different guard, the way they blocked that man all the way into the end zone. Watch that play, and you will see a Jaguars team that was pissed off. Watch the way Eric Armstead sacked Trey Lance. You will see a Jaguars team that played pissed off. And Pete Prisco mentioned that, like, in order to get Trevor right, he's like, I'm going to play you the tape of that Chargers game in the second half. That's you letting it rip. And you got to do that. And honestly, Trevor did. Every time that he was called, aside from that interception, when he was called on to make a play, he did. The run game made it a lot easier for him, right? It set up the pass really well. That's exactly what we wanted to see. But then when he was called on to make a throw, make a play, he did. And so I think he can do the same thing against the Cardinals. My only complaint for Liam Cohen in his play calling in this game against the Chargers was as soon as Trey Lance went into the game, why is Trevor Lawrence still out there? That's my only complaint. And seeing guys like BJ Green and Danny Striggow getting into the lineup and doing things with Emmanuel Ogbah active, I think that's a testament to Anthony Campanelli. And it's really encouraging because they got in there. BJ Green had what should have been a sack. And Danny Striggow, I think, did have a sack, a run tackle for a loss, and he was in that backfield. Those undrafted players, they are hungry. They're also pissed. And they were making noise. And I think they have taken Emmanuel Ogbah's job. I was happy when we signed Ogbah. I thought it was a good move. I thought he could contribute. Younger guys are playing better. And the fact that they've already caught up to him, because again, as a veteran, It's sad. Once you reach a certain point where as a veteran, you're only going to get worse. But as a young guy, you're only going to get better, in theory. In theory. So Striggow and Green, the potential is still trending up. Ogba is only going to trend down. And so obviously Ogba is probably just a 1 year and done. Maybe he'll retire after this year. I still don't criticize the signing, and I think it was good for them to have a veteran in front of them, a guy that they could chase and try to beat out. And they did. And we got some more pass rush because of it. So let's see if we can continue that. I think we can. I think the Jaguars do beat the Cardinals. I don't think it's going to be the same dog walking, but man, it feels so good to have another blowout on the schedule. Another blowout win. Because like the Panthers game, like we handled them. And the Panthers don't even look too bad, 6-5. Like we handled and we controlled that game. But to get a nice blowout against a playoff team, like you would think the Panthers game was the one that was 35-6. This is against the Chargers, a playoff team from last year. And again, I know, oh, they don't have Joe Alt. Oh, they didn't have Rashawn Slater. Yeah, tell that to the Steelers. Tell that to TJ Watt. He should have been feasting in the background yesterday. Justin Herbert still took down the Steelers. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is old. And the Steelers took down the Colts. So, like, this is a good win for the Jaguars that we can feel good about. But get pissed off. Like, read those comments about people still making excuses for why the Chargers lost and how the Jaguars still aren't good. Read those and get pissed off because that's when we play our best ball. And let's go into this Colts game not 8-4. Let's have the Colts come in at 9-3. And let's show them who's boss. I will be there. You should definitely be there. And until next time, never forget, there's always the Jacks.